The forgotten extinction. Long ago, before the stars carried the stories of countless alien races, there was one species feared and admired across the galaxy. They were called humans, and they were known for their courage, their anger, and their will to survive. But then, they were gone, wiped out in wars that shook entire worlds, erased from every system. The galaxy learned to move on, or at least pretend that it did. For centuries, alien children grew up hearing bedtime warnings about humans. Stories told them that humans were too dangerous, too clever, too unpredictable. Some believed humans were monsters in flesh, while others said they were legends that never existed. But one fact was agreed upon: humanity was gone. The species was extinct. On the silent edge of a forgotten star system, a lonely space station drifted in endless black. It was a station built by the Vayari, a tall reptilian race known for discipline and order. The station had one job: to scan the void for debris or ships. Nothing ever came, and the crew had grown used to the boredom of endless watch. Then it happened. A sharp alarm rang through the cold metallic halls. The crew snapped to attention. Their screen showed something impossible, a distress signal, broken but real. The strange part was not that the signal existed, but the code it carried. It was not Vayari, not Drask, not Kalari, it was human. Captain Sereth, leader of the station, froze as he looked at the signal. The crew stared back at him, waiting for an order. His scales twitched uneasily. "This is a trick," one officer muttered. "Humans are gone. This is bait, a trap set by pirates." Another shook his head. "No pirate knows this code. It is too old, too deep. Only humans use this encryption." The debate spread quickly. Fear and curiosity pulled at every mind. Should they ignore it, or should they investigate? Curiosity won. It always did. The coordinates led them to a drifting object in the dark, a battered escape pod spinning slowly near the orbit of a dead moon. The pod was scarred by centuries of space travel. Its surface was covered with burns and cracks. Metal plates barely clung to its sides. The crew almost expected it to fall apart before their eyes. But inside, sensors picked up life, a single heartbeat, faint but steady. The moment the pod was dragged into the docking bay, silence filled the station. Dozens of eyes stared through the glass at the sealed chamber. Frost covered the pod's surface, small crystals breaking off as warm air touched it. Tools whirred, locks hissed, and the pod slowly opened with a screeching sound. Inside, lying in a cocoon of metal and wires, was a man. His chest rose and fell with shallow breaths. His hair was matted, his face marked with scars, but his skin was unmistakable. Human skin. His eyes fluttered open for a second. Confused, lost, his lips parted, and in a weak, trembling voice, he whispered, "Where am I?" The crew staggered back. Some gasped, others cursed. Captain Sereth's jaw tightened. His claws clicked against the floor. "Impossible," he muttered. "This cannot be. Humans do not exist. Not anymore." But the scanners told the truth. Blood, tissue, didn't. Everything confirmed the same fact. He was human. Panic rippled through the crew. They knew the stories. Humans were survivors. Dangerous even when cornered. If one was here alive, what else was hidden in the void? Was this the first sign of something bigger? Whispers began to spread across the station like fire. The comms buzzed. Messages sent secretly to allies, rivals, governments. "A human has returned," they said, "alive." Captain Sereth stood frozen, staring at the man inside the pod. The galaxy believed humans had been wiped out ages ago. And yet, here one was breathing in front of him. This discovery would not stay secret. It would change everything. Allies would come, enemies would come, and none of them would allow this mystery to rest. And in the heart of that cold station, among frightened aliens and endless stars, the greatest question of all rose in silence. If humans were wiped out ages ago, then why did one just return alive? The human awakens. The alien station was no longer silent. Whispers traveled through the corridors like electric sparks. Every officer, every worker, every guard wanted to see the impossible being inside the med bay. The human, inside the sterile chamber. Bright lights hummed above the man who lay on the recovery bed. Machines blinked softly, scanning his heart and brain. His chest rose and fell slowly, but each breath felt like thunder to the crew who stood behind the glass. They could not look away. The stories of their childhood were alive in front of them. Captain Sareth stood stiff, his arms folded behind his back. His golden reptilian eyes were locked on the man. His mind raced between fear and duty. For years, Sareth had been told humans were the most dangerous species ever born. They were unpredictable, able to fight even when hopeless, able to rise even when broken. And now, one of them was breathing just meters away. The human stirred. A groan escaped his lips. His fingers twitched against the blanket. Slowly, his eyes opened. They were a piercing gray, cloudy with confusion. He blinked several times, his gaze darting across the room. Strange faces stared at him, creatures he had never seen. His breath quickened. "Where am I?" His voice cracked, dry and weak, yet those words carried weight. The aliens stepped back. Some lowered their weapons. Others raised them higher. No one dared move too close. Sareth tapped the console, activating the translator. "You are aboard a Veari station," he said calmly, though his tail twitched nervously. "Who are you?" The human stared. He pressed a hand to his chest, as if searching for memory. His face tightened, his voice trembling. "I don't know my name. I can't remember." He coughed, his body shaking. "How long was I asleep?" No one answered. The crew exchanged uncertain glances. How could they explain that humans had been extinct for ages? How could they tell him the truth without igniting panic? Sareth finally spoke, his tone sharp but controlled. "Humans have been gone for thousands of years. You should not exist." The human's eyes widened, his lips parted, disbelief spreading across his face. "Gone," he whispered. "No, that's not possible. There was a war. I remember fire, cities burning, and something called Project Phoenix." His voice faded as he pressed his hand against his head. The crew froze. That word meant nothing to them, but it sounded dangerous, a secret, a plan, something hidden. Sareth narrowed his eyes. He ordered the medics to stabilize the human, but his thoughts were already far ahead. If this man was telling the truth, he might hold knowledge that no alien wanted unleashed. Outside the med bay, rumors were already flooding the comm channels. Other stations had picked up fragments of the signal. Ships nearby were whispering of an ancient ghost reborn. The news spread like wildfire. Empires would know within hours, and none of them would stay calm. Inside, the human tried to rise, but straps held him gently in place. His muscles trembled from weakness. He looked at the aliens surrounding him. "Why are you afraid?" he asked, his words simple, but they cut deep. The crew shifted uncomfortably. Their hands gripped their weapons tighter. Because fear was written in their blood. Stories of humans who outsmarted warlords, who survived plagues, who turned scraps into weapons, still haunted alien memory. They feared his cunning, his rage, his will to rise above. Even one human was enough to shatter balance. Sareth leaned closer to the glass, his voice cold. "You are dangerous by nature. Your kind nearly burned the galaxy before. If you live, you may burn it again." The human shook his head slowly. "If I lived, then maybe others lived too." His voice carried a strange strength, his gray eyes locked on Sareth's with quiet fire. "Do you fear me? Or do you fear the return of my people?" The words struck like a blade. The crew exchanged nervous looks. The possibility was terrifying. If one human had survived, could there be more? Could humanity, the species everyone believed erased, still linger in hidden shadows of the galaxy? Sareth turned away, his scales rippling uneasily. He ordered tighter security around the med bay. He knew what was coming. Fleets would arrive. Spies would infiltrate. Assassins would try to silence the man. Everyone would want to claim him, to use him, or to destroy him. And deep inside the med bay, the human closed his eyes. Fragments of memory flickered like broken glass. Flames, screams, a world falling apart, and a promise whispered in the dark. Project Phoenix will bring them back. The man's fists clenched weakly. His voice was a whisper, but filled with steel. "I was not supposed to wake alone." Fear across the stars. The news did not stay inside the station. It spread like fire through dry fields. One whisper became 10. 10 became 100, and soon the galaxy trembled with the rumor. A human was alive. Across distant worlds, Governments and empires reacted with shock. Some laughed at first, calling a lie, but as more signals leaked, as transmissions of the strange discovery reached their ears, the laughter turned into fear. On the Drask homeworld, a council of warlords gathered in their iron halls. The Drask were a brutal race, known for strength and bloodshed. Their leader slammed his clawed hand on the table. "If one human lives, more may follow," he growled. "We must crush this seed before it grows." Others nodded, remembering tales of battles where humans outwitted Drask generals, even when outnumbered 10-1. Meanwhile, in the shining cities of the Kalari, a peaceful but cunning race, leaders whispered carefully. "If humans return, balance will break," one elder said. "But if we are the first to reach him, we may control the storm before it begins." Their voices were calm, but their eyes glittered with hunger. Even Navari High Command, the very race who found him, was torn. Some argued he should be executed immediately, erased before the galaxy panicked. Others wanted to keep him hidden, to study him, to unlock secrets buried in his blood, but all agreed on one truth. A single human had already changed everything. Back on the station, the crew felt the pressure mounting. Every message they intercepted carried the same theme. Fear. Some spoke of extermination, some of opportunity, but none of peace. Inside the med bay, the human sat weakly on the bed, staring at the ceiling. His body trembled from exhaustion, but his mind was awake. He listened when Sereth entered. The captain's voice was heavy. "Do you understand what you are, human?" The man turned his gray eyes toward him. "Lost," he whispered, alone. Sereth's tail lashed in frustration. "You are more than that. Your existence is a weapon. Empires will come for you. They will kill to keep their history unchanged. They will kill to make sure humans never rise again." The man's jaw tightened, though his hands shook. "Why fear me? I am only one." But that was the problem. One was enough. Stories of humanity's defiance echoed across alien memory. They remembered humans who poisoned enemy fleets with nothing but scraps. Humans who turned abandoned mines into fortresses. Humans who never surrendered even when entire cities were burning. To them, a single human represented endless trouble. Across the stars, ordinary people reacted differently. Some trembled in fear, parents warning their children about the return of the monsters. Others felt something unexpected. Hope. There were alien slaves who whispered, "If humans fought against empires before, maybe they will fight for us again." In dark alleys and hidden places, rebels prayed the rumor was true. The galaxy divided into two emotions, fear and hope, both growing stronger by the hour. Meanwhile, fleets began to move. Silent warships left their docks, some hunting to destroy the human, some desperate to capture him. Secret agents began to travel toward the Vayari station. Some carried bribes, others carried knives. The station became a fragile cage. Sereth doubled the guards. Every corridor filled with tension. Officers argued in hushed voices. Some wanted to hand the human over to the highest bidder. Others wanted to protect him, not out of kindness, but because they feared the chaos if he was taken. The human felt their eyes on him. He felt the fear in the air. "They hate me without knowing me," he muttered. His voice was soft, but Sereth heard it. The captain gave no answer, for deep down he feared it too. And yet, something else stirred. The human's presence was not only fear. Some of the younger crew began to feel a strange pull. They saw his weakness, but also his strength, the way he sat upright despite pain. The way his eyes burned with determination even when his body shook. It unsettled them, but it also inspired them. One question grew louder across the stars, whispered in palaces and slums, in fleets and marketplaces. If humans were wiped out ages ago, then why had one returned alive? And if one could return, what if more were already waiting in the dark? The galaxy held its breath, not knowing whether it was about to face salvation or its doom. The human's memory. The human's body healed slowly, but his mind remained clouded. Fragments of the past drifted through his thoughts like broken glass, sometimes sharp, sometimes fading before he could hold them. The medics said his brain showed scars, signs of long stasis. But the crew knew it was more than that. His silence carried secrets. One evening, when the station's halls were quiet and the stars beyond the glass burned like cold fire, the human stirred in his bed. His fingers dug into the sheets. His breathing uneven. Images rushed into his mind. Cities crumbling under fire. Skies filled with warships. Screams echoing through endless nights. His heart pounded as if he were back inside the nightmare. Sareth entered the med bay, watching from behind the glass as the human whispered to himself. Fire. Betrayal. Project Phoenix. The captain pressed the intercom, his voice sharp. What is Project Phoenix? The human blinked, his gray eyes focusing slowly on Sareth. It was hope, he whispered. It was our last chance. The crew leaned closer, hungry for answers. The human's voice grew steadier as the memories forced their way back. When Earth burned, when the colonies fell, our leaders knew extinction was coming. They built something hidden, a plan to survive even when all was lost. They called it Project Phoenix. His voice cracked as he closed his eyes. We were never meant to vanish. We were meant to rise again. The words sent a chill through every alien in the room. Sareth narrowed his eyes. And where is this project? He demanded. The human shook his head, pain flashing across his face. I don't remember. Not yet. I see fire, I see ships, but the location is hidden, buried deep inside me. He pressed his hands to his temples. Someone wanted me to forget until the time was right. Outside the med bay, messages poured across the galaxy. Spies intercepted fragments of the conversation. The words Project Phoenix spread like poison. Fleets began to accelerate their journeys. Governments prepared secret orders. No one could afford to let humanity return. But in the lower decks of the station, whispers spread among the younger crew. Some felt fear. Others felt wonder. What if he speaks the truth? One whispered. What if humanity had a plan to come back? Another shook her head nervously. Then the galaxy will burn again. That night, the human dreamed again. He saw a dark chamber lit by a single flame. He saw faces, men and women in armor, their voices firm. If you fall, another will rise. They told him, if we are broken, we will be reborn. The words echoed like thunder, and when he woke, sweat covered his face. Sareth was already there, his golden eyes unblinking. Your memory is dangerous, the captain said coldly. Every word you speak changes the stars. You must choose carefully, human. The man stared back, his expression hardening. You fear me, not because of what I am, but because of what I might remember. He leaned forward, his voice low. If Project Phoenix is real, then humanity is not gone, not completely. Sareth said nothing, but his silence spoke louder than words. Far beyond the station, empires argued. The Drast demanded the human's execution. The Kalari called for his capture, and hidden rebel networks prayed for his survival. The galaxy was dividing, and all because one human had whispered a forgotten name. In the med bay, the man pressed a trembling hand against the glass. His eyes burned with a mix of sorrow and determination. I was not supposed to wake alone, he said softly. Others, they were supposed to follow. Project Phoenix was never meant for one. The words struck the crew with a weight heavier than gravity. If he spoke the truth, then somewhere in the void, others like him could still be waiting, sleeping in silence, waiting for the right moment to return. The galaxy had feared one human, but now the fear grew into something far greater. What if there were more? The hunt begins. The galaxy did not wait. The moment the words Project Phoenix reached the stars, the hunt began. Fleets left their docks, cloaked ships slid through the dark, and spies carried new orders. Find the human, capture him, or kill him before his memory awakened fully. On the Viari station, Captain Sareth felt the weight of 1,000 eyes pressing down. His comms were filled with encrypted requests, bribes, and threats. Some empires promised wealth for the human. Others swore war if he was not delivered to them. Sareth knew the truth. Their small outpost had become the center of the galaxy. Guards now lined every corridor, but paranoia grew. The crew no longer trusted each other. Whispers of betrayal circled the mess halls. Some thought selling the human to the highest bidder was the only way to survive. Others wanted to protect him. hoping that keeping him hidden would delay the chaos. Fear and greed divided them. The human felt the tension in every glance. Every time a guard entered the med bay, he could see it in their eyes. Some looked at him as if he were a monster, others as if he were a savior. His gray eyes burned with quiet fire. "You do not protect me because you care," he said one night to Sareth. "You protect me because you fear what others will do if they find me." Sareth's jaw tightened. He did not deny it. But the galaxy was already moving closer. In the war halls of Adrask, fleets were unleashed, ships armed with plasma cannons, engines roaring like beasts. They swore they would crush the human before Project Phoenix could rise. In the crystal palaces of the Kalari, elegant diplomats prepare their silver-tongued envoys. They would not destroy the human. They would capture him, study him, and use his secrets to shape the galaxy. Even the shadow empires stirred. Assassins and bounty hunters sharpened their blades. Each one promised riches if they could bring back the man, dead or alive. The station trembled under the weight of it all. Distant sensors picked up ships lurking at the edge of the system, silent watchers waiting for the right moment to strike. The crew began to panic. Some begged Sareth to surrender the human before blood was spilled. Others locked their weapons tighter, preparing to fight. Inside the med bay, the human sat upright for the first time, his body still weak, but his presence strong. He looked through the glass at the guards. "You cannot cage me forever," he said. His voice was calm, almost too calm. "If they come, they will not only come for me, they will come for all of you too." The words cut deep because they were true. The galaxy would not spare the station. Everyone inside had become part of the secret, and secrets were always buried with blood. That night, a ship tried to dock without clearance. Sareth's crew scrambled to block it. Weapons lit up the void as warning shots fired. The intruder pulled back, but not before sending a clear message: "Hand over the human, or we will take him." The crew's fear grew into open argument. In the command chamber, voices clashed like blades. "Give him away," one officer shouted. "He is not worth our lives." Another struck the table with her fist. "If we surrender him, the galaxy will never forgive us. Humanity's return will drown us all, but hiding him will at least give us time." Sareth silenced them with a growl. His golden eyes burned. "We hold him," he declared, though his voice betrayed his doubt. The human, listening through the glass walls, clenched his fists. He remembered flashes of fire, voices of leaders, and the promise of Project Phoenix. He whispered to himself, "I was not meant to fight alone." And yet, he could feel it. The hunt had begun. Ships were circling like predators. Shadows were moving closer. Somewhere in the dark, the galaxy prepared to strike. The Vayari station had become a trap, and the man who was never meant to live again was now the center of a war no one could stop. The first move had been made. The hunters were coming, and the hunted was ready to awaken. Revelation of Project Phoenix. The station shook with tension. Every hour, new signals appeared on the scanners. Fleets hiding at the edge of the system. Warships masked by cloaking fields. Spies disguised as traders asking for docking. The galaxy was closing in, all for one man, one secret. Inside the med bay, the human sat in silence. His gray eyes were sharper now. His strength was slowly returning. The weakness in his body remained. But his mind grew clearer each day. Memories no longer came as broken shards. They came as waves, heavy and unstoppable. One night, he woke with a shout, sweat dripping down his face. He grabbed the rails of his bed as visions burned into his skull. He saw great ships hidden under mountains, vaults buried in oceans, cryopods glowing in silence. He gasped, whispering to himself, "They are still out there." Sareth rushed inside, his tail lashing in alarm. "What did you see?" he demanded. The man's lips trembled, but his voice carried a fire. "Project Phoenix. It was never about one. It was about many." He closed his eyes, forcing the memory into words. When humanity knew the end was near, they created sanctuaries, hidden colonies across the stars. Some were buried deep underground, others sent drifting in dark space. Each one carried seeds of life, frozen humans waiting for the day they could return. The crew froze, their eyes wide with disbelief. One guard dropped his weapon in shock. Another whispered, "Not extinct, only sleeping." The human looked at them, his gaze unflinching. "I was not the last, I was the first awake." The words spread through the station like thunder. Within hours, they reached beyond the walls. Intercepted messages carried them to waiting fleets. And soon the galaxy knew humanity was not gone. Humanity had planned their return. The Drask warlords roared in fury, smashing their tables with claws. "If we do not burn them now, they will rise again," they declared. Armadas were ordered to move faster, ready to scorch any trace of the Phoenix plan. The Kalari leaders, calm but cold, whispered among themselves, "If we capture him, if we unlock the locations of these hidden colonies, we could control the future." Their fleets set course, not to destroy, but to seize. Even rebel networks in the outer systems heard the news. For the first time in centuries, their hopeless voices carried a spark. "If humans rise, the empires will fall." They whispered. Some began to prepare, gathering weapons, waiting for a signal. Back on the station, Sareth confronted the human directly. "You are a threat to the galaxy," he hissed. "If what you say is true, war will come, whole species will burn." The human's reply was calm, almost too calm. "War came when humanity fell. You let others erase us from history. But we did not vanish, we endured." He leaned forward, his eyes locked on Sareth. "You fear chaos, but chaos is already here. My awakening only reveals it." The crew could feel it too. They no longer looked at him as just one man. They looked at him as a spark, a flame that could burn entire empires or light the path for a new dawn. Late that night, while the stars drifted silent beyond the glass, the human whispered to himself, "They will come for me. They will hunt me. But Project Phoenix was never just my burden. It belongs to all who are waiting." And far across the void, in forgotten places, old machines stirred. Lights flickered in hidden bunkers. Frozen chambers pulsed faintly, as if answering the call of the one who had awoken first. The revelation was no longer just a rumor. It was truth. Humanity had not died. Humanity had prepared. Humanity was returning. The return of humanity. The galaxy stood on the edge of a storm. Fleets closed in from every direction. Warlords sharpened their claws. Diplomats prepared their traps. And rebels sharpened their hope. All eyes were fixed on one place, the Vayari station, and on one man, the human who should not exist. Inside the command chamber, alarms echoed. Red lights painted the walls as sensors screamed warnings. Dozens of ships were detected in the system. Some broadcast threats, some offered peace, but none carried trust. The hunt had ended. The war for the human had begun. Captain Sareth stood before the crew, his scales trembling with unease. "We cannot hold against all of them," he admitted. His golden eyes flicked toward the med bay. "The moment they arrive, this station will burn." In the med bay, the human sat upright, strength finally returning to his arms and legs. He could feel it, the pressure of the galaxy closing in. His memories now burned bright, no longer fragments but whole. He remembered ships hidden under shadow, colonies buried in silence, and voices swearing that humanity would rise again. Sareth entered, his voice sharp. "You brought this chaos upon us. If you stay, we all die. If you leave, maybe we survive." The human rose slowly, his gray eyes hard as steel. "You are wrong," he said. "The chaos was always here. I only reminded the galaxy of its fear." He stepped forward, his presence stronger than his weakened body should allow. "I am not alone. Humanity was never gone. They are waiting, and now they will awaken." The crew stared at him, torn between terror and awe. Some gripped their weapons. Others lowered them. Their hearts could not deny what their eyes felt. He was one man, yet he carried the weight of an entire species. Beyond the station, the first warships uncloaked. Their cannons lit the void with cold fire. A message blasted through every channel: surrender the human, or be destroyed. The station shook as explosions rattled its shields. Panic surged through the crew. Sareth barked orders, but his voice was drowned by the thunder of war. And then it happened. From the darkness beyond the system, signals appeared, hundreds of them. Not alien, not enemy, but human, ancient codes long thought lost, now pulsing strong. The scanners flashed with readings of ships, massive shapes stirring for the shadows of dead moons and forgotten asteroids. The human closed his eyes, whispering, "Project Phoenix," as if calling it into being. One by one, colossal vessels emerged, rusted but alive, engines roaring like the heartbeat of giants. Their hulls carried the scars of a forgotten war, but their presence shook the galaxy. They were human ships, the lost fleets of a species thought erased. Across the station, silence fell. The crew pressed against the glass as the impossible unfolded. Some whispered prayers, others cursed in disbelief, but none could deny the truth. Humanity had returned. Sareth stared at the human, his voice barely a whisper. "You were the spark." The man's gray eyes glowed with fierce resolve. "No," he said, "I was only the messenger." The fire was always waiting. Outside, the alien fleets wavered, some prepared to attack. Others hesitated, but deep within every mind, fear grew. Fear of what humanity's return meant. Fear that the galaxy was no longer theirs to command. The human stepped forward, standing tall despite the chaos, his voice steady. "Tell them," he said, "tell the galaxy, humanity is not extinct. Humanity is rising." The scene froze in time. The station caught between fleets ready to kill, human ships awakening from the shadows, and a single man who had defied extinction. And across the stars, one question burned brighter than any cannon fire. Was this the dawn of salvation, or the beginning of the galaxy's darkest war?